participants from across country and continent, my learned colleagues, dear students, a very good afternoon from India to one and all. I'm Dr. Arman Rasool Faridi, Associate Professor, Department of Computer Science, and coordinator of this event. I feel privileged to extend a warm welcome to everyone for joining us for this webinar today. Well, you are aware that today we are presenting webinar on the topic technology trends and industry expectations. And the distinguished speaker of this webinar is an alumnus of our Department of Computer Science, AMU, Mr. Muhammad Sajid, and he is joining us from London, United Kingdom. Dear participants, at the very outset, let me clarify you some important points. You will get ample time to interact with today's speaker. There will be a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. If you have any question for the speaker about presentation, please type them clearly with your name into the chat window. I'll try to collect these and address them during the question and answer session at the end of today's presentation. Another important point I would like to share is that during presentation, you will be asked to participate in polling. So do participate by selecting the appropriate response and then click the submit button. Another important point that I must share with you is that the certificate of participation for today's webinar will be generated automatically. Once you will fill and submit the feedback form, but that will be almost at the end of this presentation. The link will be shared in the chat window. So fill the feedback form correctly, your name and other details, because that will appear in your certificate of participation. Ladies and gentlemen, we witnessed that the lockdown during pandemic accelerated adoption of digital technology and new tools to make education delivery meaningful to students and teachers. It has provided an opportunity to be more efficient and productive while developing new and improved professional skills and knowledge through technological intervention in educational practices. We in AMU and especially in Department of Computer Science also took many initiatives during that period. Many online workshops have already been organized, and organization of webinar series is also underway. This webinar is the third in that series. And the idea is to primarily connect the alumni of the Department of Computer Science, AMU, who are contributing immensely in the industry and academia. They are a great asset for us. And you would agree that creating an engaged, supportive alumni network is crucial to an institution's success. We are committed to create such a network of alumni who could donate their valuable time to offer career support to current students through innovative schemes such as professional mentoring program, work shadowing, professional networking opportunities, etc. These will definitely enhance the students' experience and give them the required competitive edge in today's tough job market. Our alumni, as I said, are great resource and are immensely important stakeholders. They are closely watching the trends, the opportunities, the growth prospects, and have acquired vast experiences in the industry and real lives over the years. And therefore, I'm very sure that the present lot of fresh technocrats will definitely be benefited with the rich real life experience of their seniors. I'm very happy to inform you that we have received an overwhelming response from our alumni and participants. For today's webinar, we have 200 plus registered participants from industry and academia. And apart from these, there are other non-registered participants and alumni from across the globe. They're also joining us, and I welcome all of them. Ladies and gentlemen, now without further delay, I come to business. Following the traditions of the Aligarh Muslim University, the session will formally begin with the recitation of Holy Quran. And for that, I would request Dr. Faisal Anwar, Assistant Professor in the Department of Computer Science, MU, to recite few holy verses. Dr. Faisal, over to you.
Thank you, Arman sir. Am I audible clearly?
Yes, you are very much audible, Dr. Faisal.
You are audible.
Thank you, sir. I'm reciting here certain verses from chapter number 96 of Holy Quran, which is Surah Alaq. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. And the translation of these verses are: recite in the name of your Lord who created man from a clinging substance. Recite, and your Lord is the most generous, who taught by the pen, taught man that which he knew not. Thank you, Arman sir, and it is over to you.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Faisal Anwar, for this beautiful recitation and translation of the holy verses for the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to welcome our speaker today, Mr. Muhammad Sajid, and to introduce him to the audience, may I request the very polite, the very energetic and dynamic chairperson of the Department of Computer Science and the convener of this event, Professor Asim Zafar. It is indeed a proud moment for him as a teacher to introduce one of our illustrious students. So, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Asim Zafar for you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Arman Saab. Am I audible? Please come.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Respected Professor Muhammad Ubaidullah Bukhari Sahab, the founder, faculty member of this Department of Computer Science. I can see many of the teachers are there. I would like to name them: Dr. Swaleha Zubair, Dr. Faisal Anwar, Training and Placement Officer, Dr. Muhammad Nadeem. I can see Dr. Sajid is there. So Dr. Muhammad Sajid and all the esteemed faculty member of the Department of Computer Science, the eminent speaker and the resource person of this event, Mr. Muhammad Sajid, Dr. Arman Rasool Faridi, coordinator of this event, dear students, our valued alumni from across the world, distinguished guests, participants. Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to all of you. It's my great pleasure to welcome all the participants to the webinar on technology trends and industry expectations. On behalf of the Department of Computer Science, Aligarh Muslim University, I extend a warm welcome to all of you. Dr. Arman has already talked about the aims and objective of this webinar series. So I would like to introduce you with today's speaker, Mr. Muhammad Sajid. I very much appreciate the kind gesture of Mr. Muhammad Sajid, a proud alumnus of the Department of Computer Science, who despite his
सेमिनार
hectic
चल रहा है
schedule,
एक दोस्त जो है ना इंग्लैंड में साजिद
agreed to share his experiences, interact with the students of AMU, and guide them to a better career prospect. I, on the behalf of the Department of Computer Science, Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh, extend a heartiest welcome to today's eminent speaker, Mr. Muhammad Sajid. Mr. Muhammad Sajid is currently working as the Senior Director at CWT London and responsible for their enterprise architecture function globally. CWT is a global leader in managing business travel for companies and governments organizations. CWT is headquartered in Minneapolis at USA. CWT has over 18,000 employees in 150 countries. Muhammad is an experienced leader with over 20 years of proven track record in delivering business goals by effective use of technology. He is an expert in developing business-aligned IT vision and strategy, enterprise asset management, and resource management. Muhammad Sajid ensures that the IT is commercially responsible or responsive, resilient, and scalable. Prior to joining CWT, Muhammad Sajid worked for a number of organizations, and to name a few is the Shell International Oil Company, where he was responsible for retail payments architecture globally, covering over 50,000 petrol stations in over 60 countries. While working with Vocalink, Muhammad was the technical owner of the UK National Payment System that connected all UK banks and over 45,000 ATMs in the UK and processes multi-trillion pounds transaction on a yearly basis. He worked on behalf of the Bank of England and the UK Payment Council to define the vision of UK payment ecosystem for next decade. Muhammad Sajid worked for the Virgin Atlantic Airway and the Channel 4 in the past. Sajid is an ISEB practitioner and associated with the British Computer Society. He is a TOGAF certified enterprise architect and an expert of ERP implementations. Muhammad Sajid earned his BSc Physics and MSc MCA in Computer Science and Application from AMU in 1999. He used to live in SS Hall, South. Right now, Muhammad is residing in London for over more than 2 decades. In a nutshell, Mr. Sajid has a varied experience in the IT industry and is well suited to deliver a talk on the topic technology trends and industry expectations. I trust our students and the audience will be much benefited by his rich experience. I would like to invite Mr. Sajid to please deliver his talk and thereafter interact with the students in the question answer session. Dr. Muhammad Sajid, please.
Thank you very much, sir, for your thought-provoking address and setting a perfect platform for our speaker to deliver his presentation. Distinguished participants, let us have the pleasure of listening to Mr. Muhammad Sajid. Mr. Sajid, the stage is all yours now. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
If I'm audible. Thank you very much, everyone. I would like to thanks Asim Bhai, Arman Bhai, and Bukhari Bhai. I can see these names. The respected teachers who taught me and who helped me to make what I am today. And today's task, today's speech, I have done a lot of speeches, and on daily basis, speeches coming up. But this one is very special and very close to my heart. And couple of reasons, because and it's very challenging as well. The reasons is I'm speaking in front of my teachers. And also I'm speaking in front of the students from AMU student who have always been very intelligent group of people. And I do remember the days when somebody come up and is delivering a speech in Kennedy Hall Auditorium. It was always been a challenging, no matter who is the orator there, who is the presenter there. So I hope you're going to bear with me today. I'm not going to get some kind of like hooting and all those things. I do remember I was part of those things. So believe me, I do remember what it feels like. So what I would like to cover today is share some of my experience from the industry, how technology and businesses are helping together, where the technology are going to are today here, and how the technology is going to help in the future, in next decade or so. And my expectation here, I would like to make this whole session as interactive as possible. So please feel free to write down your question, and if you have questions, as Arman Bhai has said in the beginning, note it down and we will try to address those questions. And Sandeep, can you go on to the next slide a little bit, please? So Sandeep is helping me today here in navigating the slides. Go back, please. A little bit about self. I'm going to share my journey, where I have started from after completing my MCA in 1999. I came out from the university and to do my very first training. That's a part of the MCA final year training, as you're all aware about that. It was very interesting training, very interesting place that I've been to. And I remember because that was the best place I've worked. It was a small company called Space Graphic, and I was introduced there as a younger brother of the owner of that company. So the kind of like environment I had in there was amazing. I had the same like of cabin for myself, and somebody was helping me on that, although I was a trainee there, which is kind of like somebody is bringing tea and somebody is doing the all the helping thing for me. As a trainee, I got that, but since then, I never got that. And it could be one of the reasons in England, it's everything you have to do yourself. So it's all like open office culture. I don't have any offices. It's open office culture, and I need to do everything myself. And that's why I do remember it in the Space Graphic in very beginning, it was completely different experience. Then after that, I joined CNET. Is a company in Delhi. It was there, and it was just talking about the pre-internet bubble time. Spent some time in the CNET, and then moved to London. Worked with Channel 4, which is one of the leading commercial TV channel in the UK, and helped them to develop an ERP kind of system, which is delivering their 90% revenue today. Further, I moved on in my career and joined the Virgin Atlantic Airways. I was one of the long-haul airline, second largest long-haul airline in the UK. Worked for there as an architect, and that's where my architecture journey began. And I was responsible for multiple business areas within that. Then I moved to a completely different path from the airline to the payments industry and joined VocaLink. VocaLink now is a MasterCard company, but previously it was just a consortium of all the tier one banks in the UK, and it was governed by the Bank of England and the UK Payment Council. I was the head of the solution architecture department there, and spent quite some time. And being part of that in the thick of the payment ecosystem, I had an opportunity to work on a lot of things that defines the industry, the payment industry for the UK. One example I can give you, where I was working on behalf of the Bank of England and the UK Payment Council to work out what's going to happen in next one decade and what will be the demand for the UK in the UK for the payment ecosystem, what technology will be required, and how the industry is going to respond to that. And with that research, I got the opportunity to look around the globe, not only the developed countries in Europe and in America, but also we learned a lot from the third world countries, such as Tanzania and Namibia, and all those where at that time there was a lot of innovation was going in that space, and we learned a lot, which was that innovation was not done in the developed countries. Then moved on to the little bit time with Cognizant, and followed by Shell, where in Shell I was responsible for their global payments. And now I'm working with CWT, which is a business travel company, headquarters in Minneapolis in the US, and have a footprint in over 150 countries. So, and I'm working there as a senior director for the enterprise architecture, and currently I'm based in London. As far as my professional accreditation for doing the MCA in the industry, when I come up, I've done a number of certifications as well. It's kind of like ongoing learning exercise. So I did the leadership in digital transformation through SAP as a certification. I'm also a associate with the British Computer Society and ISA practitioner, and a TOGAF 9 certified architect. So a little bit about me. And I have 3 kids who lives with me here, and my wife in London. So Sandeep, can you move to the next slide, please? I wanted to share some of my memories at my time in the AMU. I'm very fond of these, and I do see these pictures quite a lot. Many times when I open my old albums, I do see picture, and I do miss the places these are here. Not all the places in this, so bear with me. I'm going to talk about this. The hall that you see and the Victoria Gate that you see, I used to live just a few rooms apart. It is not shown in the picture on the right-hand side, but it's only a few rooms from there. That's where I spent a lot of time. My room was there. And then you can see the Department of Physics, where I spent time, and I have some memories. My favorite teachers in the physics was like, many of my teachers would be knowing, but I think for a lot of the student, it may be something I'm talking about the past, such as Professor Zilur Rahman Saab and Professor Choktai Saab. So those were like some of those people and word famous people who taught me. And within computer science, you know that the teachers here, Bukhari Bhai and the Asim Bhai and Arman Bhai are here, and there are others as well. So such as Ishtiaq sir, they taught me in there. And there are two compositely opposite pictures. One talks about the library, where I was not frequent at all, as you can imagine. And the other one is the Tasveer Mahal. I don't know, is Tasveer Mahal, last time what I've heard, the Tasveer Mahal has been demolished and it's become a shopping mall now. Yeah, but as you can think about, I was more frequent to the Tasveer Mahal than the library. Sandeep, you go to the next slide, please. And some more memories. And you can see here, I'm with the Bukhari Bhai in the picture in right hand. In the computer science, in one of our lab within the computer science old building, where I'm here with the couple of other people and friends there. And in the picture down, where I'm with Arman Bhai and Ishtiaq sir. And this is in the last picture here is about my class. And the good thing, even today, the whole class is quite connected and quite gelled today. So we still have those kind of discussion with our class. It's 20 years or plus, but we're still connected. And thanks to all of my classmates, and I can see that many of my classmates have already joined in this call as well. Sandeep, go on to the next slide, please. Let's take a quick poll. As Arman Bhai was saying that this poll, you need to take a little bit time and answer to the poll. One thing I would like to say that you need to pick the right answers, do a correct answer. It may get connected with your sessional marks. I'm just joking. So have a look on this. The first question talks about a little bit that think about that how many people in India getting computer science degree each year. Just have a think, and you can, using your computer, you can choose an answer. It's 1 in 1,000, 1 in 5,000, 1 in 10,000, or 1 in 50,000. You can answer now to the question. And then the second question here is about, in order to get the admission in this AMU computer science department, what do you think about that? How many students you have competed with to get the admission? Have you competed with 10 students, 20, 50, or 100? So how the polling is coming up, Sandeep? Are we getting the answers? Same poll. So let me explain again, everyone. If you don't answer the question, it's going to be get related with your sessional marks. So be careful. You need to respond to the questions here. I would like to see your participation, active participation. This is going to give me a feel that you are listening to me and I'm not wasting my time here and not anyone else's time. So please do take a time to respond to this one. So the first question talks about that how many people in India get computer science degree each year. 1 in 1,000 people, 1 in 5,000, 1 in 10,000, and 1 in 50,000. And the second question is about, in order to get admission into the AMU computer science department, how many candidates you have competed with? 10, 20, 50, or 100. So just go on and, okay, so poll is closed. A little bit better, but still it's like, look like either people don't understand the ask in here or finding some technical difficulty to answer. But go back, Sandeep, let's go on to the next slide. So just to be, think about that, when you get admission into the computer science department or getting the degree, it's only 1 in 50,000 people get the computer science degree each year in India. That's a simple math there. It's around 250,000 people get the computer science degree each year out of a population of 1.4 billion. So think about that. It's how privileged you are. And when you join this computer science department in the Aligarh Muslim University, you had competition with 50 candidates, and you have outdone 50 candidates to get the admission. And AMU is one of the top university in India and top university in world, ranked 8th in India, I believe. So you have to be proud on yourself. Remember, you are the top brain in India. So proud of yourself and never stop pushing to be the best you can be. So pat everyone, every student, I would like to say that, pat on your back that what you have achieved so far. Everyone, go on, pat on your back. All right. Okay, Sandeep, move on to the next one, please. So today's task, what I'm going to cover the 3 areas. Talking about the technology trends and how the technology is helping in business and in shaping in this business. So that's the first thing I'm going to cover. Then I will be covering about what's the industry's expectation from the fresh graduate when they join. Why do they hire the fresh graduate? What they're expecting to bring into their company from the fresh graduate. Also, I would be covering about some of the leading companies in the world, which you can explore in your time. It's just to give you some ideas where the opportunities are, where you explore, and some simple tips about how to prepare yourself for the interview, how you prepare your resume. So that's what I'm going to cover, the three things. All right. Sandeep, can you move to the next slide, please? So in the technology trends, I'm going to cover about how business and technology fit together, how technology is helping business to evolve. Then we will look about some of the predictions for business, how the business is going to be move, what are the trends for the next 1 decade or so. So as for the technology, where the technology is moving. Also, we will touch on some of the emerging technologies today and in coming years. And then I will put some of my thoughts about some technologies for you to explore as they're coming in the coming days, they're becoming the mainstream technologies. And also another area I'm going to cover the enterprise system, the system that helps companies to operate, governments to operate. So I'm going to touch these subjects within the technology trends. So Sandeep, go on to the next slide. So this is a research I have taken from one of the leading research company, Gartner. And what this talk about is how the technology and businesses are associated. And it's starting from 1980s, and in 15 years of span, we started examining that how the technology is supporting the business. So between the first, when the computer science evaluation or the computer evaluation and adoption has happened from beginning of 1980s to 1995, the focus was about how IT is supporting the business. So something was happening on a manual basis or something was happening on paper, IT is supporting to coming up to the business. So the focus was around how the business operate and how technology helps them. So example, if you see about at that time was the technology was helping in terms of like writing your documentation from paper to the bringing into the electronic side. So helping in that way, there was still everything was in isolation. Things were not connected. A lot of things were completely disconnected, in fact. But the thought when the technology come up, it supported business to run in a way. But in the next 15 years, the next span of that between 1995 to 2010, with the internet coming into play and talking about the e-commerce, it's thinking how we sell. So it's the era of the e-business that span. It's internet helped everyone how to do the e-commerce, how to sell to the non-traditional audience. It's a different, it's providing the business exposure to at a global level during that span. So the focus was how to sell. Then between and where we are now, from 2010 to 2025, is an era of about digital businesses. A lot of innovation has happened in this space about to change the business. So if you see that traditionally, even in 80s and 20 and early 2020, what was that is likes of Hilton is a business is a hotel business as an example. They were the largest. They had a lot of businesses everywhere. But in 2020, 2010 and 2025, and during that business model is completely changed. Airbnb came up. They don't have any hotel, any property, yet they are the largest hotel chain in the world. You think about Uber. They don't even own a single car, but they are the largest taxi service provider in the world. So it's the technology is changing and shaping to drive the business in this era. So it's what about what we make and what we do in the digital business in that span. Then the next thing, what's coming next from 2025 to 2040, next 15 years, it's going to be autonomous business. It's a thinking about who buys, who makes, and who sells. The thing is going to come up. Buyers may not be traditionally the human. It may be machine buying the things, machine making the things, and machine selling the things. So think about that is a big retail shop. So Reliance, for example, in the Reliance shelf, they maintain their inventory in an automated way. When the inventory reaches to a certain point, they need to reorder something from something because we are running low on that kind of product. So automatically, without manual intervention, it goes and places an order to the supplier. Supplier system looks into that, put into the delivery side, and sells it and do the payments. So less of it's everything is going to be an autonomous business. And what's going to help in a way like it's changing on a pace that whatsoever is the industry requirements changes. And we have seen a lot of things has already been started during the pandemic, the COVID pandemic that we have seen. Business model has evolved and it's going to continue in the next 15 years or so. And then after that, it's kind of like nobody has a crystal ball, but it's very much high level thinking about where its investment has already started. People are already started talking about is the metaverse, where I don't know how it's going to look like. It's something what we're talking about. If I try to draw a parallel, what was internet in 1980s is the metaverse today. So in another 20 years, 25 years, we don't know how it's going to evolve. Nobody has thought about that internet is going to change our life in 1980s that way, what we are seeing today. So the same way, like we are seeing some initial thoughts, some initial white papers, what's coming up and how metaverse business can help, but how it really is going to transform the whole life, whole world, we'll see in the coming days. Another aspect I would like to touch in the beginning, technology was traditionally thought about as a cost center. And normally within the business, the structure was like the CIOs and the CTOs, the chief technology officer or chief information officers, they used to report into the chief financial officer because the technology and the IT was traditionally thought as a cost center, just helping the businesses. It was not thought as it's a revenue generator in the past. But as you see that these things has changed, the technology is enabling to drive the business growth. So even in the board level in the companies, the structure has changed. Now the CIO has got a seat on the board, and technology is thought about that this is the growth. Technology can bring the growth for any business. And the example I was giving in the past. It's the technology that enables Airbnb to do what they are doing today. Technology that enables Amazon to do what they are doing today. So technology has enabled Apple's. There are numerous examples of that how technology is helping the business to grow. So that's the changing, how it has changed from last 50 years or so, and technology is leading now. So Sandeep, go on to the next slide, please. Some of the business predictions for the decade. As I was saying that earlier, there would be more machines capable of acting as consumers than human by 2025. Examples I was giving you about the inventory. So automatically system is placing order. So more than we have got over 8 billion people in the planet, but in few years time, there will be more machines that are capable to do that. Everyone has got multiple machines, and it's not only at the business to business level, it's onto the consumer to business level as well. As person, if I'm trying to buy I can do something set up in my mobile phone, and automatically it looks at what needs to be delivered. So for my local superstore shop, my weekly grocery, it's not necessarily that I need to buy. I just make a setup that what I need to get delivered every week. And it's automatically at the end of the week, order gets updated and the things get delivered. So there would be more machines in than human being in a couple of years time. And one of the prediction that's identified through that machine customers, they will globally going to generate more than 23% of revenue. So there still the human being will be the more one. They will be the most important buyers, but machine customers are going to contribute significantly, nearly a quarter of the overall revenue globally, and that is going to be sum up are more than 100 trillion in terms of the revenue, in terms of the overall volume we talk about through that machine customers. Go on to the next slide, Sandeep, please. Now I would like to touch a little bit some technology predictions for the decade that's coming up. It's a good one. And I've taken this from one of the leading research from Gartner. And the prediction is around 3 key themes. It's based about the people centricity, where the people is in the focus. And it's also talking about the local independence, location independence, which we have already seen. It has accelerated through this COVID pandemic. People are everywhere. Sellers at one place, buyers is another place, and employees are in a different place. So it's a location independence it's going to bring. And also the third part is about resilient delivery. So no matter whatsoever happens, it's creating the resilience about the overall process. So thinking about the Internet of Behaviors, just to touch base on these items a little bit. Internet of Behaviors is more like driving people's certain behavior and rewarding to that. You see some examples there. For example, you go onto the YouTube. Based on your behavior, it gives you the advertisement that you want to see. It suggests you to the next video you would like to see. But there are numerous applications in every aspect of life coming up. One example I gave you here in the UK, it's car insurance is being offered through a telematic device. So that what telematic device does, it monitors the driver's behavior. And if the driver is a rash driver, their premium would be different than a sensible driver. So based on that, how they are driving, how the driver is behaving, their insurance premium is being calculated. So this is an example about how the behavior is going to drive to the business. And it's all technology is going to enable this. Then thinking about the total experience strategy, again, the people-centric thing is the experience of consumer, the supplier, and the employee. So it's a chain reaction. If your employee is not happy, it's not going to serve your customers that way, and it's not going to bring the revenue that back, and the same way with the supplier relationship. So what it's talking about is the total experience strategy, is bringing through the technology, providing the seamless experience all across the globe, all the participants in the value chain, whether it is customer, whether it is supplier, or the employee serving to that. And the next one is coming up again, people centricity, how my data is being used. It's a privacy enhancing computing. Examples, you see that like in Europe, there is a regulation called GDPR. So General Data Protection Regulation, which enables every consumer and every individual to show that how their data is being used, where their data is being used. So it gives them a right. And that is like everywhere the data is being stored around that, in everywhere in the technology, it's impacting. So it's a privacy enhancing computing. And this is not only in the Europe, it's coming everywhere. In India, we're getting the similar kind of regulations about that, how personal data is going to be used. So the data in flight is how it's been protected, how it's been used. So that's all going through the drive the technology. Then if I come to the location independence, distributed cloud is the next thing coming up. I'm sure that you all know about what the cloud is, but the distributed cloud technology is something next step is coming up. And one of the reasons is driving is from various regulation from the government and the various bodies. They're putting to how the data can be stored, where it can be stored. For example, China says that their data, their nationals data cannot go out of the Great China Wall. So it has to stay within China. India has got something similar regulations. European says that their data cannot go outside without the litigated requirements. So what is happening there? In this, with the distributed cloud, the cloud service provider, let's say Amazon Web Services or AWS, comes up, they will have their data center all over the place. They will manage the cloud, the overall technology at top level, but the actual data will reside into the local data centers in the countries. But from the company's point of view who are using their cloud services, it will be just one service. So the distributed clouds will provide that to localize, but yet you will be leveraging at one single interface and one single way to manage your overall cloud offering. Anywhere operation, that's another one that we have already seen that you are doing in this actually in this webinar, in this call. You are all over the place, and we are doing this business. We are having this webinar. So it's regardless even into business terms, where the employees and where the consumers or the suppliers, it's providing the seamless operation, and it can be anywhere. And you see that almost all global companies, they have got their footprint globally. I'm just talking about my own current company, CWT. They have footprint in 150 countries, employees all over the places, supplier all over the places, and the customer, and providing the seamless operation. Cybersecurity mesh is another one. Is if you see that the technology advancement is happening in positive way, but the same technology advancement is being used by the security threat providers. They are using the artificial intelligence for the cyber attacks. So the cyber security, and also one more thing comes up, as I was talking about earlier, there are so many connected devices. If I'm just thinking about my house, there would be hundreds of connected devices just in my house. So my electric meter, my gas meter, my washing machine. You think about almost everything is connected, and when it's connected to the internet, it opens up the threat for the security threats. There are potential to get the cyber attack through those devices, which was not traditionally connected. So with these additional devices coming into the internet, it's going to extend the security beyond the traditional computers and all. It's all the devices that's connected. They are computers in some shape and form. Then thinking about the resilient delivery, where composable business, intelligent composable business. What's that? What it means about the, through an intelligent way, finding out where the demand is, you change the shape of your business. You're using channel today from, for example, you're choosing the outlet, retail outlet, but things comes up, the demand comes up, you change a channel to the online channel, to the mobile channel, how you are selling. You are finding out you're selling one product, but the demand of another product through an artificial intelligence is increasing, and you find out automatically it looks about this new product and offering. You're finding out the supply from one country, let's say Shanghai is closed today because of the COVID, and finding out how we can find out the supply from an alternative place automatically and intelligently. So, and the technology is going to help the connected and doing those supply chain things and in a composable way. So if you cut off from one part of the business, is still decompose. You can create the business from somewhere else automatically. AI engineering is another area. It's artificial intelligence. To me, if I personally say, Oxford taught us artificial intelligence 25 years ago, but we never thought about that, how it's evolving everything. What the artificial intelligence engineering is going to do is those artificial intelligence model that's been done today, it's through engineering mechanism in a scalable and reliable way to deliver those models. So there won't be a lot of things working and finding out and creating model. There would be an AI engineering discipline will evolve to do these things more efficiently. Hyper automation is again, it's connecting everything in an automated way. An example comes up. Let me spend a couple of minutes to share one example. A smart home, for example, where everything is connected. You've got your heating is connected. You know about that. Your lights connected with that. You have the security camera, which is connected with these emergency responses organizations such as police and fire brigade and all those. And everything else is connected to your house insurance and everything. Let's say I was in my house. Now, I was not in my house. I was away, but my house is a smart house where everything is connected. There was something, a big typhoon has come up, a thunderstorm, a tree is fell down on the roof of my house. Roof is broken. But my house is a smart house. The sensors there have detected that something has happened. Something went wrong. Okay, CCTV camera, they have picked up. They've taken the picture. Okay, something has gone wrong. They immediately, my connectivity with the emergency response services, they informed the fire brigade, and they also inform the police about that. While they informing these things, because it has sensed that something has opened up, it shut down the heating. They don't need to waste the energy that's happening. And also, it knows about where is my insurance, who I've got my building insurance with. It's started connecting with that building insurance, communicating with the building insurance, sharing the images that's been taken, what the damage has happened in the house, and then whatsoever vendors who can fix that problem. So such as the roofer is going to come up, the builders need to come up to fix that problem. They also have connection with that. So they connect with them, get the quotation from those vendors automatically, get the approval from the insurance company, that these are the quotation coming up to fix these. And when everything has happened, through this hyperautomation and artificial intelligence, at the end, I get a message that these things has happened and these are the actions have been taken. Police got informed, fire brigade got informed. This is the negotiation has happened with your insurance service provider, and these are the builders and the people are going to fix this. Do you want to proceed or not? And I would respond to that. So what means that all these things, if you see around, these things exist. You have the CCTV camera. You have those insurance companies, those provide the APIs. You have the builders who provide the APIs to connect with. You have those emergency services that's also connected with ADT, for example, that we have in the UK. It's already connected alarm with the police and fire services, etc. So these things are connecting and joining together to create that hyper automation. I hope this makes sense. All right, Sandeep, go on to the next slide, please. This slide, this is a very busy slide, and I'm not aiming to go into everything in this slide. This slide is actually called the hype cycle for emerging technology that Gartner produces on annual basis. What my purpose for this slide to share with you is how to read this slide, where to find out, and I will encourage you going forward, you keep monitoring what it is. So if you think about that and this onto the x-axis where we have got the timelines coming up, and the y-axis is about the expectations. And to read on this part is about in the very beginning, a technology started to come up and innovation triggers. Then it reaches to the hope and expectation is inflated that people think about that this technology can do everything. It's going to replace the whole world, etc. But eventually, at some time, people think about, oh, we overthought about that. This is not what we had thought about. It can't do everything. So it's a kind of like through the disillusionment period it goes around. And then eventually it comes to a slope. And then people in light, oh, we can do this thing here. And start coming up and this technology becomes main part and it gets adopted into the productivity. So if you see there are, and also it has some other symbols about that some technology is going to reach to the plateau in less than 2 years or between 2 to 5 years, etc. And there are technologies that will never become mainstream technology at all. So this is how it is. A lot of technology they Gartner keep monitoring about what's coming up. For example, authenticated provenances or AI augmented design. This is something has started. It's very, very emerging. But if you think about the secure access services has already reached to the top of the curve. And then it will come up slowly. People started, no, we can't do with the carbon-based transistors a lot. But then eventually some technology will come up and throw this Pluto, and then will start getting adopted. What I'm looking here in this, a quick glance on this, it gives a lot of innovations are based on the artificial intelligence. If you read on this slide, you see AI occurring many times, whether it is responsible artificial intelligence or artificial augmented development or embedded AI. So what it shows, it tells to me is the artificial intelligence is the key enabler for any emerging technologies in going forward, at least in next 1 decade or so. Okay, Sandeep, go on to the next slide. And by the way, sorry, this hype curve you can find onto the Gartner website. So you do research on that, do onto the Gartner website on a regular basis. This gets created on an yearly basis. So keep monitoring on that. I will encourage everyone. All right. Now I'm going to talk about some of my thought, and I would that on the technology that you should explore. And it's in no particular order. I just put some of the technologies in here which I think are the key for all the students that you are going into the to the real world in a few years time. You should be aware about this technology. You should be looking and making yourself acquaintance about this technology. So the robotics, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, as I was talking previously, these are the key enabler. So you need to spend on time. You need to understand what's the machine learning, what's the artificial intelligence, what innovation they are driving, where they're taking us. And related to that is about the enabler to a lot of artificial intelligence is the data science and big data and thinking about the predictive analysis. So in the past, everything was about like creating report. Report is a past thing. Nobody wants a report that this has happened. So for example, if I'm going to a train station, okay, and it gives me a report that my train is delayed for 2 hours, it's of no use for me. It's just a piece of information. But talking about the analytics and giving an actionable item on that, my train is late and this next train is going to come up at this time. You can do this and this in between this time, and by this time you have to reach. Give me the actionable thing. That's what's the next steps. It's thinking about with this data science and predictive analytics. Cybersecurity, we've touched base a little bit, is a key thing in the market. It has a very high demand for the cybersecurity experts in the market. I'm sure that everyone is aware about what's the blockchain, what's the distributed ledger, and you may be aware about Bitcoin and a lot of cryptocurrencies in the market. One thing I would like to highlight, blockchain, if you see, if I go back onto the hype curve, it has come up from the peak to the disillusion. People started, like initially they were thinking blockchain could do everything. That's not the case, but there are use cases and business cases started to emerge. We have seen that in terms of the cryptocurrency, but that's only use case. Remember, that's only one use case. There are hundreds of use cases all over the world. Think about the diamond industry. The diamond, then when it comes up, it has all its history recorded. And one of the thing about the blockchain that's immutable, that means what the diamond industry is taking initiative to record all the diamond industry history on the blockchain. Supply chain management. Everywhere the blockchain started, people started doing the investment. I see that number of stock exchanges, they started looking around and offering some of the securities and their bonds using the blockchain technologies. And if you think about, do a little bit Googling and you will find out there are use cases everywhere. When I was at Shell, I started exploring about various use cases for Shell for blockchain, how blockchain can help Shell in overall supply chain management, overall the distribution management, how the blockchain can help. So it was very different from just the cryptocurrency. It's everywhere that blockchain is being used. And this is going to be in demand as well. The one is about enterprise system, which is such as the enterprise resource, ERPs, CRMs, HR, or supply chain management. I'm going to touch base a little bit about that in the next slide. And one of the reasons why I'm going to touch on this in this one is, by sound, it looks like it's 1990s or 1980s thing, but this is in high demand and it is ever evolving. All this technology, when we're talking about the artificial intelligence, we're talking about the analytics, we're talking about everything else, it requires for enterprise. Enterprise are the biggest customer for that. And so the enterprise systems is one of the key area. Then looking about the cloud and infrastructure services, we touched base around that. is cloud is supporting everywhere. Normal data center concepts is going away. Everyone is leveraging cloud at the moment, and you can see these changes or shift happens. At one time in 80s, we had the mainframe. IBM was leading the world. Then we got to the distributed computing. Then we are coming. The next train is the cloud. It's everything is going to the cloud and infrastructure related services. And the last one in this slide I've got is about the mobile and web application development. This is a traditional thing, which normally in my days when I completed my MCA, the only thing option that I knew at least personally, was about, okay, to become a developer. Just learn some Java coding and SQL coding, etc., and become a developer. But today, it's a lot more. But where it is, this mobile and web application development is not going away. That's what I wanted to say. It's still going to be there, and if you're interested, there are a lot of opportunities there. So Sandeep, go on to the next slide, please. So I wanted to touch onto the enterprise system. As I said, it is going to be the key thing. And think about an enterprise system that runs and operates the every asset of an enterprise. When I say enterprise, I mean a company or business. Every aspect, from the human capital management to their customer management to their supply chain management, their workflow and automation, their service management, every area that's been connected. And all these things is going to evolve as artificial intelligence is taking place. And there are two things, two distinctive demand and quite related in the industry about all these systems. One is about the technology developing of these systems. And so you are writing about the code, how the ERP should work, how these functions get integrated with other systems. That's the one aspect in good demand. But there is another aspect is about the business processes, how the business processes should be optimized, how it worked together in harmonization with everything else. If you're thinking about sales process, from finding out from a marketing campaign running into finding out suspect to become, when qualifying they become prospect, then running the sales campaign and finding out, eventually signing the contract so that they become a customer. So this whole process from one end, from marketing to they become customer, and then once they become a customer, serving them efficiently and getting the maximum revenue out of them, is a lot of business process involved. And similarly, if you're thinking about the financial ERP, where the examples such as SAP or Microsoft Dynamics or Oracle Cloud Fusion, these are the already built-in packages, but it's about how I'm going to use it in my business scenario. And every business scenario may have slight different processes, slight different need. Even every same business, let's say one oil company, ExxonMobil, may have different processes than Shell. One bank may have a different processes than other bank. So the business processes, how we can define that, how we can optimize that. Think about that. It's very high in demand about defining the business processes even more than what you are doing the coding and developing these systems. In my experience, you will not find the people who define the business processes a lot. You will find a lot of people who can do the coding, who can do the integration. But the people who can define those business processes, optimize those business processes, run that models is in high demand. So I would suggest you in your time, if you're interested in that area, into the business process area, spend some time, look around that. And there are examples that I have put, like HRM or human capital management tools. It's about how to retain the employee, recruit the employee, retain the employee, how we're going to remunerate that, how my payroll is going to work, how we're going to incentivize, how I'm going to create the leadership, how I'm going to create the succession plans should somebody retires, etc. All those things comes into play into the process. Service management, you're calling to the call centers. call comes up. Call comes up in different ways, creating omni-channel experience. So somebody has email, somebody has phone, somebody has chat. All those history comes up. You have got 100 people responding to those calls and those requests coming up. How we are managing those services? Are we managing efficiently that? Are all these calls getting diverted to the people, or some of our staff is just waiting for the call, but others are very busy? So it's all how we are managing the services overall and automating the workflow. So um, it's overall entire workflow management coming from request to the fulfillment of the request. So we receive an order when we are doing the fulfillment of that order, when we are going to raise the invoices, when we were going to collect the payment, when we're going to do the shipment of that, how we are going to track the delivery, etc. It's the overall workflow automation. And the technology there I've just put in Pega is a one name, but there are so many other things for you to explore out. So Sandeep, go on to the next slide, please. I would like to, in this section, covering what is the industry's expectation from the fresh graduate when they join that. We'll be looking about where the potential opportunity areas, why the company recruits the fresh graduates, what do they expect, and also we will examine a little bit where the challenges are and what are the gaps. And then I will share some of the example roles in the IT for you to explore. So go on to the next slide, please. So we're coming up to the poll. So this time I would expect the participant to answer. I would expect 100% answer. So please do that, reply on this one. So the first question here is about what do you think that which industry offers the IT role? The industries such as the IT consulting companies, Microsoft, Oracle, TCS, Infosys, etc., or the technology or social media companies such as Amazon, Apple, and Facebook, or the oil and gas or energy companies such as Indian Oil or Saudi Aramco, or Shell, or ExxonMobil, or the military and government organizations such as the central and state governments, or the railways or bank, or you think about that everyone provides the opportunity for the IT role. And the second question here is about think that where you would like to make your career. This is very important. You should answer this question. It's about whether you want to go into the civil services, you want to go into the politics, you want to look about the entrepreneurship. You have heard about the entrepreneurship couple of months ago, where one of our seniors, Mr. Mahmudullah, has provided you and a big talk about the entrepreneurship and the success around that. Or whether you want to go do a further research and study, or you want to stay into the IT, look for an IT role in public or private sectors, or anything else you're interested in. So your time starts now. Please do answer your question. Sandeep, how we are doing with the responses? Are we getting responses? Don't close the poll yet. Are you getting the responses? Good. Just give 30 more seconds. Everyone, I will encourage you to respond to these two questions and submit your answer. So don't forget to submit. You need to select one of these choices for each of these questions and submit your answer. 10 more seconds. All right, Sandeep, can you close the poll now? Okay, can you share the result with us and let's discuss the result a little bit. Okay, so for the first one, yes, everyone, well done, who has answered everywhere we will get this the opportunity for the technology and IT. Excellent. Everyone has done good. And then the second one is about, yeah, I can see a lot of mix there. A lot of people wanted to go everywhere. I can see somebody want to go into the civil services, but surprisingly, no one is interested in politics. Okay, a lot of people want to do the entrepreneurship. Many people want to do this further studies and research work. So it quite a mix in here. A number of people want to go into the IT role in public and private sectors. As this one, the highest number coming up, a lot of people want to go into the public and private sectors. That's where I would like to focus in this section of my talk. But I will encourage everyone, think about all these areas. These are important areas where you can make a lot of differences. In IT role, I'm in IT role in a private sector environment, but all these other areas are where you can make the impact if that is your choice. It's civil services when you go, or in the politics or entrepreneurship, you can make huge difference. You can make huge difference. A politician makes a difference into the millions of people's lives. Civil services, if you think about the big civil services servants, they have policy makers. They impact to the whole India's population if they make certain decisions around that, if they are in certain roles. So think about that. But yes, as I said, today I'm going to talk about more onto the IT roles in public and private sector. So Sandeep, if you go on to the next slide, please. Let's examine these questions a little bit more in detail about why a company would be recruiting fresh graduate. Why somebody, if I go as a fresh graduate to a company, what they will be looking into me? What will be the reason why they will be hiring? The first and foremost reason come to my mind and through my research is about companies think about that the fresh graduate, when they come, they bring energy, they bring new perspective, they bring the innovative ideas. They are, I mean, all the people who are in the industry for a long time, they might be doing something the same way for years in and out. But somebody coming new, bringing different perspective. That's one of the things looking about that. Another area is about, it's always been said that it's teaching an old dog new trick is always difficult. Well, somebody's coming up a new is they're a quick learner, and it's not that much challenging to the fresh graduate to train them. And you can see that thing is in recruitment campaign that runs by the big companies such as TCS and Infosys. When they go to the engineering college, they look about the fresh graduate which have certain aptitude and certain IQ level. So they go to the engineering college, they already have that kind of aptitude and IQ level, and they hire the civil engineers as well, and they train them whatsoever they want to train to. So they can train to the people as like. And another aspect is about their technical savvy, their tech savvy. Because what it's been said, and I'm sure that you might have heard about the people who born pre-millennial like myself and some of my teachers as well, we are technical migrants, whereas yourself, the people who born off in the millennial, you are technical native. You grow up with that technology where we had to learn, we had to adopt. So a lot of things we had to learn. But when I see my son, he's when he was 3 or 4 years old, he was still able to run the mobile and run onto the iPad, download the things, etc. But for us, it was learning. There was a learning curve, how to do these things. So that's another important aspect about why company are the fresh graduates. And also they are full of energy, full of enthusiasm, and also they are eager to prove their worth. And another aspect is about finding out the right resources so that they can create the long-term talent planning, long-term succession planning as well. I'm giving you example of my current company and the past company, Shell. In Shell, there was almost for many decades, they had the policy to hire the fresh graduates. And in my time there, when I was looking around the colleagues, most of the people were 20, 25, 30 years in Shell, having different roles. They have different career paths, but it's creating an environment. Once somebody has joined, keep them for a long time and creating that plan. So the knowledge that they have acquired over a period of time, it stays in the company. So that's another thing. So creating, and when somebody they recognize that this is a good one, this can go for the long run, they create all the opportunity to take to the leadership level. Just provide all those things to that person. So these are the few things that the company thinks they get from the fresh graduates. Sandeep, go on to the next slide, please. And this is again a related slide. What's the company's expectation from somebody who joins them? The first and foremost things comes to mind is ability to communicate. Communicate in any form, and whether it is verbal communication, non-verbal communication, written communication, and a big part of the communication is the listening skill. It's the half part is the listening is the half of the communication. So ability to communicate and also attitude to learn the new things and the courage to take challenges. Say, yes, I can do that. I will try. I will give my best. They're also looking about the problem solvers. So it's not like saying somebody coming up and always show this is the problem and because of this problem I can't do. No, looking about somebody saying that this is the problem and my suggestion that this is how this should be resolved. And these are the ways that we can resolve. And these are the pros and cons if we do take one approach or another approach. So looking about somebody is not just highlighting the problem, but suggesting the solution as well. And the consequences of if there are multiple options of that solutions, the consequences of each of the options. As I was talking earlier is they are looking about to create the leadership. So also looking about the commitment to stay in companies. So companies bringing the resources, hiring is not an easier or a cheap thing. It's very expensive process. It takes long time and it is expensive process. So what companies want is the commitment to stay in the company for longer time. Because somebody I'm hiring, spending and thousands on that, and I'm going to train that person for next 6 years or an year to become productive. And if there is no commitment that after that person is going to leave the company, all my investment gone to waste. So the company is looking about the commitment to stay in the company. Another aspect is about quality delivery. Focus on the quality. The reason behind that, if there is some problem in the quality, it's not delivered to the mark. The delay it happens to catch that quality issue or the defect going forward, it is more costly. So if it gets detected early, it fixed quickly and it's less costly. But if it goes beyond in many steps, it's very expensive. Just one sec. In terms of time wise, Arman, by how I'm doing, how much do I have now?
You can continue. We have enough time.
All right. Okay. So another part is about flexibility in working hours and locations. So often if you see global companies, and if you see especially within the technology companies in India and many other companies in India, they have global footprint. They're working in various time zones. They're working in various different environments. So it's the flexibility about the work hours, flexibility about locations, flexibility about traveling. In many cases, a lot of traveling requires. Like in my time, I mean, not for last 2 years, but before that, I was very frequent traveler globally. Thinking about the professionalism. So it thinks about the things such as the integrity and the commitment that you have made, fulfilling those commitment, be on time. One of the things I would just like to highlight that just to get in the call, I think today at least I was seeing that there was ping happening, people joining 15 minutes after the call. In the professional environment, that is not acceptable. That is not acceptable at all. If it was at 2:30 India time, it would have been expected 2:30. So that's the thing about that. This is something, it's a part of the professionalism and companies expect that. Another part is last in this, but not the least, when you go for an interview, when you have a discussion about with a company and you wanted to go for an interview, do your own research about the company. What do they do? What's their vision? Where the money comes from? What's their business model? Where they operate? Do a lot of research and ask the questions, as many as you can ask. Okay, so Sandeep, go on to the next slide, please. Let's examine some challenges and gap. This is an interesting research that was published in March 2019, and that research was done by the Proceedings of National Academy of Science, or PNAS, in the US, with the help of China, India, Russia, and American governments. It was funded by these governments. Whether I agree fully on this, the outputs about this or not, that's a different thing. Okay, I may have my own reservations. What I'm showing is the output from that research. What the research did, they took, given some of the questionnaires and some of the algorithm for the computer science students in these 4 countries, and asked those students to solve the problems that was given. And based on the answers of those students, they did the scoring. And when they did the scoring, they divided the elite institutions and compared the elite institutions. So AMU, for example, the elite institutions for India, whereas Harvard is going to come the elite institution for the US. So you are compared the students in the Harvards. So that's where it's been the comparison has happened. And whereas the non-elite institution in India is compared with the non-elite elite institution in China, Russia, and the US. What this graph demonstrates that the students based on the response that was given, students in China, India, and Russia are very similar to they are on the similar level, their responses were. Whereas the students from the USA, they have an edge over others. And my reservation around that, let me state this out. It could be some kind of like social biasness, because this research was done by the PNAS. It's one American one. So there might be some expectation. I've not seen the questionnaire. There might be expectation to answer in certain way, which was more suitable for the American students. But nonetheless, this shows that there are gaps. There are some opportunities to fill in those gaps. So don't take it in a negative way. You still, if you think about in China, India, Russia, are very similar around that, and there could be certain biasness. But what I would like to say is, for every one of us, even when I started, is about communication, is about showing the confidence, is about bringing the quality. And once we are on that area, we covered. There is no gap. All right, go on to the next slide, Sandeep, please. All right. Here in this slide, I wanted to share some of the example IT roles for you to explore. So, and it's not no means by that it's a complete list or this is the actual names you're gonna get everywhere. This is some pointers for you to think about. And the areas goes from like what I have here is as a strategist, think about to look about developing IT or technology or business strategy in that area. So this is an area where you think about longer terms. You think about that what's going to come up in 5 years, 10 years time, how you're going to change the things on a longer term rather than reacting to immediate needs. Thinking about the business analyst, it is more about the processes or understanding the businesses, how it works, where the gaps, how those gaps should be changed, fulfilled, what needs to be changed, documenting the business requirement, sharing with the technology team, because the business analyst is somewhere who understands the business and also communicate with the business level, with the business to understand in their language, but also translate the business requirement in the technical language so that the technical community understands that. Architect is another very interesting one. My title also has the architecture in there. There are so many different kind of architects, and you can see the parallel from the construction industry about the architects, where you see the architect who's responsible to create a building, architect who's responsible to create a multi-story buildings or a skyscraper, or an architect who is building the road and bridge, and another architect doing the complete planning for the city, a city planner. So similarly, within the technology, there are so many different kind of architects. So from technical architects, infrastructure architects, data architects, solution architects, enterprise architects, so many different architects. And based on your interest, you can explore out on that. And this is another area where not a lot of people there, a lot of demand is there. Data scientist and data analyst. I know that a lot of emphasis in AMU, and what I learned that a data scientist course is being introduced. So this is another area. It's all helping. Artificial intelligence is based on the data science, a big portion of that. So this is in high demand. Project management is another key area. This is an enabler of all the projects. So in any organization, any change happens, whether it is IT or business change or whatsoever change, it has to have a structure and a project management along this. So managing about the people working, all these from a strategy analyst, architect, and everything, everybody who is in that project construct, managing around that, those people, managing their delivery, managing their quality, managing their timelines, managing their spend, managing their location, all those things, that's a project management related things, and in high demand. Information security, we touched earlier in the talk, is one of the key high demand area about information security analyst. Quality assurance is another area, which is a lot of automation in the quality assurance has happened, but to do those automation, the people are required in there. So whatsoever you build, you need to make sure it is a quality product. It's fulfilling the functional and non-functional requirements. Whatsoever purpose of that that product, it's delivering that product. So ensuring the quality and doing the testing is another area to explore out. Infrastructure engineer. When I say an infrastructure engineer, it's as we see, the lot of demand is within the cloud. So looking about the cloud area and how the cloud is going to work, how is the cloud is evolving, although we still have a big footprint into the normal data centers. So understanding the normal data centers and the normal infrastructure, thinking about those networking side, it covers everything in the infrastructure engineering. If you think about from end user computing devices, so your mobile phone to your laptop to all your devices that you see, to your infrastructure, to your network connectivity, to server devices, everything comes within that area, infrastructure engineering. And the web and mobile applications developer, so thinking about such as DevOps. Um, so that kind of thing around. So these are some examples roles for you to explore out. What I want to say that coding is not the only thing. If you become from the technology, there are many opportunities in every direction. You can think about that. So explore out, see that what you are interested in, where you are good in, where you want to create your expertise. Explore out. There are lots of options available. Sandeep, go on to the next slide, please. So we're coming to the last section of our talk. Is about some of the companies where I would suggest you to explore about that. And we'll go through some of those footprint about the companies that they have globally. And we'll look about some of the tips how to prepare for the interviews for your next steps. Sandeep, go on to the next one, please. So we have got another poll. So be ready, everyone with your devices. You need to answer this one. And if you don't answer, think about that for your sessionals. It may go in your sessional exam, sessional results. I'm just joking. Okay. This is a very simple one. I think it's a thinking about how active we are, where we are spending our time and energy. So just think how many hours you spend in the sports and physical activities on a weekly basis. Less than 5 hours? Or 5 hours means every hour, 1 hour every day, 5 days a week, maybe 2 hours every day, 5 days a week, so 10 hours or more than that. And then the second one is about the same way. How much time do you spend on your mobile, on the social media? It's like this, doing on your mobile. So it's less than 10 hours or 10 hours, so 2 hours every day, 5 days a week, or 15 hours. So 3 hours every day, 5 days a week, or more than 15 hours. So do answer your question, select the options, and don't forget to submit. You're gonna give another 30 seconds. Participation in this. Okay, 15 more seconds. Okay, Sandeep, can you close the let's share the result. So we can see here a lot of people were not doing a lot of physical activity. Whereas we spend a lot of time together on mobile and social media. Just we need to think about that, where we're spending and where it is taking us. And today, you have opportunity to do the things. You have, I mean, the kind of facilities that you have got in AMU. If you don't utilize this, you will regret it. Believe me, you will regret it. I will tell you example. You have in AMU that we have the horse riding club. Okay. When I was there, I think it was only a few hundred rupees to do and join the horse riding club for whole year or so. Okay, I didn't do that. I'm paying for 1 hour lesson now, many £1,000 today. I didn't do there. I'm doing it now, and I'm paying so much. So you have a lot of facilities there. I was part of the cricket team for some time, very big in the very beginning when I started in MU. I did few other things like you have swimming club, you've got gym, you've got, you name it, anything, almost all sports, all facilities you have got. The university spends so much money around this for you to utilize this. I will encourage everyone who is there, both the students as well as my teachers as well, because our health is our health. We are responsible for that. Utilize that. Please do utilize that. Otherwise, when you go outside, you will regret. You will spend so much more money to get those things. Okay. All right. So coming on to this next one, let's examine some of the leading companies in the world. What I've got this chart is about world's 100 biggest companies in terms of revenue. And how you see that read this graph is about the big chunk of these companies are American companies. And a very big chunk is, if you see the purple color companies, are the technology companies such as Apple, Microsoft, Google, that's Alphabet, and Facebook is now Meta. You can see the big portion of the revenue and the big companies are in the US and in the technology segment. But there are other companies in the world as well. Think about Saudi Aramco, which is the largest oil producing company in the world, and bigger than the Apple. So it's a big one here. There are companies in this one from India. It's a TCS and the Reliance that who made this in this chart. But there are companies all over the places. The second biggest chunk come within China. China has got a lot more companies. Japan, there are a few companies there. And then in the Europe, you can see the companies. But you see the big chunk comes from the US, from Saudi Arabia and China. So in order to address all these ones, you need to be aware about the cultural thing as well. There are multicultural environment in these. So develop around, learn about the cultural differences and how to overcome around these. But this is my purpose about the thing is about you to get an understanding that there are some big companies. There are companies outside which you can focus on, which you can face, which you can look into the for your career and start investigating about this and start registering your interest and registering in your career websites and web portal, etc. Go on to the next slide, Sandeep, please. This is an interesting one. I wanted to showcase some of the consulting companies, which I think for me, I was not knowing those companies and what they do for quite some time, even after coming out from the university and in the professional life. So such as MBB, if you think about, which is McKinsey, Bain, and BCG. This comes into the strategy consulting company. They are the topmost companies in the world and highest paying companies in the world, if you think about. And their operation is normally they operate at the top level in the organization, provide the strategic consultancy to the board. Normally that level they operate. But this is a company, these are the companies you can think about. As I said, they are the big, they make some huge impact onto the company's strategy, how company drives, and hence they pay to their consultant accordingly. It would be way much bigger, a factor of 3, 4, or 5 or whatsoever to any other company's pay ranges. So think about these MBBs. You should explore about them. Then comes up to the big four. As the name is called, the big four, there are 4 companies: KPMG, Deloitte, Ernst & Young, and PwC. And they are accounting consulting. So it's primarily like auditors. They do the account auditors of the companies, but they're also in all other kind of consultancy as well. They're in the technology consultancy, they're in strategy consultancy. So after MBB in the ranking, these big 4 comes up. And say so as their salary structures in the organization comes up. And then there are a number of examples of the technology consulting. that includes from Microsoft to Infosys to Oracle to TCS, so many. And I think there may be many names must have changed and overtaken has happened because these are more dynamic things has happened. So my purpose here to showcase you some of these example companies for you to explore out and start thinking about that which direction you want to go, where you want to apply, and what are the process and procedures. Sandeep, go on to the next slide, please. Again, there are a different business segment. That's which the companies I'm showing. And what I have selected here is some of the international companies and some of the local companies in Indian market. So if you think about ExxonMobil is the one of the biggest oil company in the world, which is now a public company there. Whereas Saudi Aramco, yes, is one of the, is the largest, but it's state-owned. Now we have the IPO of Saudi Aramco, but it's a state-owned company. Shell, you have BP, you have likes of Chevron, not a traditional oil company, but provide the technology into the companies there. Gazprom is a Russian one. ADNOC is the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, Qatar Petroleum. So a lot of energy-related companies. But when you think about in India, you have energy companies as well, NTPC, you have ONGC, Reliance. So that's energy sector you can look, and then of course the financial segment where there are some big player in the market, whether it is Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, you've got Barclays, Citigroup, Credit Suisse, UBS, Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan Chase. So some of these big names in the world, and they all have their presence in India as well in one form or another form, whether they have like their support centers or their technology centers, or they're operating full-fledged in India. And then the Indian versions of that is about like Bajaj Reliance, you've got Mahindra is there, Tata Capital, many names. And then I think other segments about insurance. So not the direct bank, but the insurance is about you have the SBI Life Insurance, ICI Prudentials, LIC. So that's a segment you can look into. Then another one is about interesting is related to payment. Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, Diner, so many different names. And this is another industry which has a significant say like Paytm. I know that Paytm's IPO has gone very bad in recent days or so. But still the payment is not going away, and Indian government is investing within that space a lot within the innovation in the payments area. So you need to this is an area to watch if you're interested in. Go on to the next slide, Sandeep, please. So let's think about some of the preparation that would be required. Put it into the full screen, Sandeep. Is to you need to create your resume, and one of the key things is it should not be very long. Maximum it should be 2 pages, and it should not be generic. When you are applying, you create a customized resume, and based on to the keywords that's been asked in the job advert or whatsoever is the company's profile. So include that. One of the reason there when you apply and hundreds of people apply for one role. So normally it's not the human who does the first round of sorting. It's a machine who does that. It's an algorithm that looks about those keywords, and the CVs that have the most or more matching keywords, they get selected. And the CVs, no matter how good CV doesn't have the keyword, machine will not pick up. So you need to ensure that you have the right keywords, relevant keywords in that in order to get first level through that machine. Only then somebody in the recruitment team is going to look, because nobody is going to read if for a role, let's say 100 application has come up for one role, if a human is going to read, it's going to take 2 days to just to read those 100 CVs. So nobody is going to spend that time. It's the machine does that. It will sort out from 100 to 10, and then only 10 is going to read. So it's important that you have the relevant keyword in there. You also highlight the project that you have done. And I will also suggest and encourage everyone to create the LinkedIn profile and start building your network and start getting recommendations from your teachers and anyone else who can provide the recommendation. When you look about the time comes to do the interview, you should do preparation for it. You should research about the employer. You should sometime if you can create the presentation about yourself and about the employer, what do you understand about them? That shows that you are putting effort. You know about that what employer does, what their vision is, etc. So you have done the research. You need to showcase that. Also, read and enhance your knowledge. It's always that we need to do. Another important aspect is about work on your body language. So that creates a lot of impression about. And yes, it has to do the clear and concise communication. The key is don't try to make answers. If you're trying to make answers, the people who is interviewing, he is or she is more experienced than you. They can get it. They can get it immediately that you are making up. So saying no or saying that I don't know is a better answer than trying to fool them. That you can't, because you can't do that. So have that about. And I will also suggest you're doing the master's degree, fantastic, but you can add more feathers in your that in terms of like doing the certification from industry. And there are lot of places where you can even get the free certification, and there may be places where some small payment that you need to make, but these are worth investment. Go into the LinkedIn Learning. It provides thousands and thousands of small courses that you can do in a few weeks, months or so. So look about those certification. Udemy is another example. I think their courses are like $5, $10, that kind of courses they have. OpenSAP is a free certification it provides related to various things, not limited to the SAP, but in generic. Look about that. Microsoft and Oracle and such companies, they provide the certifications, training as well. So look out and explore about those where we want to go some certification. These will help you. These will add a lot of weight in your CV. And also the last thing is where to look for jobs. Uh, I think this is very obvious. It's everywhere in the internet age and day in today's, you can find out everywhere, but looking about the campus placement. So stay tuned with your placement officer. Look about the LinkedIn. LinkedIn is another good platform which has the global reach. Look about those individual companies' websites. So if you are interested in Apple, for example, if you're interested in Saudi Aramco as an example, go onto their website, register on their career page, and keep monitoring. Get the kind of like set up the email automatically coming up to you when a new things is being posted. Look about the job portals, look about the referrals from the people you know of, from your seniors, from your whatsoever connection group that you have. One thing I would like all of you is to stay away from the fraudster. Anybody who is asking you something to give me money, to arrange an interview, or showing something which is very difficult to believe, stay away from there. There are a lot of people, a lot of places, a lot of websites who are there in one way or another way to take benefit of the people coming up. Whether it is hacking your system, clicking on those links, or people asking for money, etc. So stay away from those. All right, Sandeep, go on to the next slide. And I would like all of you to leave with these words here is and encourage you, aim high, dream it, believe it, and achieve it. And believe me, you can do it. You have come so far. You are the top brains of India. You may remember that I said in the beginning, you are the top brain of India. You can do that. Don't underestimate yourself. You can do that. Okay. So just everyone has to think about that you can do that. Aim high, dream it, believe it, and achieve it. Okay. The last slide, Sandeep, go on. I would like to leave this whole group. It's about the founder of the university, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, his saying and his vision about when he laid down the founding stone of this university. It's about, it's very important. The Holy Quran will be in your right hand. Just having the Holy Quran, so you cannot stay away. This is the guidance. This is the key thing to us. Natural sciences in your left hand, and the crown of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah will be in our head. I will leave you with this. Over to you back, Arman Bhai. Thank you very much, everyone.
Hello, my people.
Yes,
Hello.
you are audible. Please go ahead.
So thank you so very much, Mr. Muhammad Sajid, for a very interesting presentation. It was full of enthusiasm and valuable knowledge. Now is the time for question and answer. Audience, as a reminder, you can still submit questions through the chat window. I have few questions, and if any one of you wish to directly interact with the presenter, just raise your hand and you will be unmuted and you can ask question to the presenter. Well, so let's start with first question that I already have. The question is, how could I gain a competitive advantage over other job seekers? I think this question has been very well covered by the presenter, but anyway, since we have a mixed audience, both postgraduate, graduate, and PhD students, and audience from industry as well. So I would.
So I think it's a very good question and relevant question for this group. I really appreciate that this question is being asked. So the things that I have mentioned in my slide is about the first thing, to be in the game, you need to tailor your CV, the job you're offering for. So have the relevant keywords in there in your CV, so you are not sorted out or you're not just out in the machine when it's picking up. So remain in the game, stay in the game. Your CV should have or must have the relevant keywords in there. Also, the things that I have said, do research about the company you're going to do. If you can create a presentation, you can show that how interested you are in doing the job, what the difference you can bring in that job for that organization, why, give them the reason to believe that why they should hire you. If you do all your preparation, your research, and you are working with your communication and all, definitely you will have an edge with anyone else.
Let us move on the next question is, how can we directly apply software industry jobs in United Kingdom?
That's a good question. So there are a couple of things we need to think. Directly applying to the companies here in the UK, there are lots of jobs in the job board, and there are the job portals which they say that visa sponsorship is possible. So go register on those job sites such as JobServe, um, Monster, UK. So do register about on those websites and do filter out that these jobs that says that the visa sponsorship is available. Because if a company is willing to do the visa sponsorship, that's the most important part of that. The people are applying from outside of the UK. The company should be willing to sponsor visa for those roles. So normally, what it happens is, and as per the legal requirements here in the UK, the first thing is company has to prove that there are not enough resources available within the country. Hence, they need to get it hired from somebody from the outside of the country, and they go through with the process with whatever regulation and process here, and then they publish that kind of post. So this is the way, from my understanding, that you can do. Apart from that, there are lots of other companies which hire some time in India. That's another channel that way. They hired in India, but relocate to the on-site locations. So looking about those, so multinational companies, if you think about Amazon as an example, Amazon have got big centers in India, in Bangalore, I believe. But what they do happen sometime, they hire the people in there, but when they need somebody, they may transfer it for a few years or so. So that's happened. That's another way.
Thank you, Sajid. Thank you for a very detailed answer of the question. There is another student who asked, "Sir, I'm good at programming. Suggest me whether I should go for PhD or should I join industry after finishing my MCA?"
That's a good question, but unfortunately, this is your personal choice, personal circumstances, that what you want to do. One thing what I have seen is about, and I think this is more applicable personally to me rather than everyone else. Once you are in the industry, it becomes very difficult to go on to the further studies. It becomes challenging because you have a lot more commitment about your work, and if you started family, etc. So study as much as possible you can, if you can afford, if you have time, if you can do, and then go for the further thing. So I would say it's for you to look into your circumstances, what you can afford, what you can't do, what's your interest in, that I won't be able to answer. But as I said, my perspective is about do as much study as possible before you jumping into that, if you can afford to.
Thank you. Let us take another question. Sir, if I choose for research or PhD after finishing my MCA, what research area or what research problem I should work on to get a job in R&D sector in the industry?
All right. That's a difficult question to answer, to be honest. It's a very difficult one, and a good question. Again, it goes back to the very much personal choice that what area you're going to. But R&D, if you see the technology trends that we have seen, there are a lot of opportunities in every area, and artificial intelligence is one of the key driver. It's key vehicle to drive the change. Blockchain we talked about is another one. And when you see the lot of R&D related investment comes from the governmental organization, So whether it is DRDO in India and so much. So they have big funds. And big organizations, big commercial organizations also have their R&D area where they have the R&D budget. They do the new innovation and the R&D, but it's in reality the government R&D budget is much bigger than anyone else. So thinking about the area, if you think the technology, AI is key enabler, blockchain is another one, and the number of technologies that we have talked about in the beginning. Any of these area you can think about to go into, and the organization has said it depends on the which on the I would be more looking where the funding is available personally.
Thank you. Another question is coming from PhD students, Basil Hanafi. He asked why it is so difficult for service-based organizations to grow in today's market in their respective initial phases, and how any organization can be made reliable in such context to grow.
I think this is a good question, and in the last talk I was there when Mr. Mahmudullah was talking about the entrepreneurship and some of the phases about the new entrant in the market phases in. It's when you come to the any offering into the business, there are a lot of factors across. What's your offering is, where it is, who your customer base, who the segment you are targeting in, what kind of investment that you have got, and who the competitor is, and how differentiating your services and your offerings are. All these things and how you're marketing that, all these things count in any new business or new offering in there. So I think you need to work about in all these areas that you need to select that what is your offering, how you are differentiating which no one else is offering, why somebody comes to you, which market segment you are looking into, what level of what market strategy you have in place, and with bringing all these things together will help to sustain in those initial hiccups. But these are not only the initial hiccups, to be honest. This is a continuous thing. If somebody thinks about that I'm the market leader and I cannot be replaced, it doesn't work that way. Immediate example comes to mind is Nokia. If you think Nokia in 1990s and early 2000, they were the market leader for the industry, for mobile phone industry, where they are today. So if you don't bringing the innovation, if you're not doing the differentiation, if your offering is not competitive enough, someone else will come up. You always have that challenge. So bring your offering in that way. I hope I answer your question.
The last question that I have, how is the working in United Kingdom is different from working in India? Please share your experience.
That's a good question. And a difficult one to answer because most of my experience here in the United Kingdom. But when I speak with a number of people within my offshore partners and the people there, the one thing I have noticed is about the cultural difference. There are big cultural difference in a way that in the UK there are less hierarchy. People would be addressing anyone directly with their first name. There won't be likes of sir or the like of thinking about order taking activities. It's more like direct communication is happening. Whereas I think in India, it's a more hierarchical in there. It will be very difficult for somebody onto the on a level that to talk with someone very senior in the organization, and that prevents a kind of like bringing the innovation. But apart from that, another thing I have seen is work-life balance difference. That's an important one. In the UK, most of the people are very careful about work-life balance. It's not like their work is taking over everything. It's not like saying no is acceptable. So if I can't do that, if I don't have time, saying no is acceptable. Whereas I believe it's very difficult in India for anyone to say no to their supervisors or their seniors. So that's another difference I find. But in terms of like hardworking, giving dedication, giving their full, I believe that's something very positive in the Indian environment. If I look into the employee there, they would do everything in order to achieve whatsoever is being given to them. So there are pros and cons. I can see a lot of differences. So yeah.
Okay. So with that, I have covered almost all the questions that I had. I have two important points to raise for the participants. Those who have not filled the feedback form yet, please do it now so that your certificate is generated automatically. Second, as I said that we have finished with the question. If any participant directly wish to ask any question to the presenter, please raise your hand. And in case if you are not going for that, so anybody? I think no one. So with that, we come to the end. I thank you, Mr. Muhammad Sajid, and thank everyone present here for attending today's webinar. On behalf of the Department of Computer Science and our speaker, I sincerely thank all the participants for being with us this evening. I also extend thanks to all our alumni who joined us today from the world over. My heartfelt gratitude to all the teachers of the Department of Computer Science and everyone of Department of Computer Science fraternity for their wholehearted support in organizing this webinar. And with these words, I would like to wind up this webinar. Thank you once again. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank
you,
you.
sir. Thank you very much, Arman Saab. Thank you, Sajid Saab, for your gracious presence and sparing your valuable time to grace this occasion. Thank you very much, Sajid.
It's my pleasure. I hope it was useful.
It was very useful, and we will get the feedback very soon, and definitely we will share it with you as well.
Yeah, and for the participant, if you want to connect with me, you can connect me on LinkedIn for anything. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Sandeep, if you are there, Sandeep, if you are listening, Sandeep, Mr. Sandeep, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Please share the link of the feedback form in the chat box, please. Once again, please share. Dear participants, the link of the feedback form is being shared with you in the chat box. Please go through it. Please spare a moment of time and fill it up. And immediately we'll get your certificate as well. Please try to write down your name correctly, as this name, whatever you are going to enter into your feedback form, that will appear on your certificate. So please take care while entering your name. So thank you, Sajid. I hope it was a very exhausting session. I think for you, it took around 2 hours time. It took 2 hours time, but it was very, I mean to say, very useful in the sense that you took your time and did it in a very well-paced manner, I mean to say. So it was going well, and hope the participant might have been benefited from your talk. And
In
we
the
will
meanwhile, I
continue. We
received
will continue
some-
in future as well.
Sure.
In future as well. So, fine.
In the meanwhile, I must tell Sajid that now we are receiving some more questions, but definitely some other time. Some of the students are now typing their question. We got it late. So anyway, next time will be definitely.
Yeah, that's fine. I think if we need to do and summarize those questions, I'm happy to answer them back later in the email and all, so that it can be
Sure.
published. Then, yeah.
We'll do that. We'll do that.
All right then. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam and
Assalamu warahmatullahi
Ramzan
wabarakatuh.
Mubarak to all of you.
Mubarak everyone.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi